A movie about President Snow, and he will rock you. The Hunger Games, The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes, released in 2023 this past weekend, and is directed by Francis Lawrence, who has also directed such films like Constantine, Water for Elephants, I Am Legend, and The Hunger Games 2, 3, and 4. Or is that Hunger Games 3 Part 1 and Hunger Games 3 Part 2? I don't know, it was during that whole craze where all of the young adult, teenage, post-apocalyptic books were being converted with their last book in the series into two films, because, you know, we gotta stretch that out. We gotta milk it for all it's worth. We gotta make the money. And this film is starring Tom Blythe, Rachel Zegler, Peter Dinklage, Jason Schwartzman, Hunter Schafer, Josh Andreas Rivera, and Viola Davis. The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes takes us back to the beginning of the Hunger Games in Panem, where a young Coriolanus Snow is about to graduate from the academy and is hoping to win a cash prize so that he could attend a university and establish his family's name in Panem. Well, this year they're doing things a little bit differently, as all of these graduates are now going to be mentors of the tributes for the Hunger Games, and it's their job to make these contestants more marketable so that people will tune in more to the games. And Coriolanus has been assigned to Lucy Gray from District 12, who's got some beautiful soul pipes on her, and the two start forming a relationship that could blossom into something more later on. And I'm going into this one totally blind. I read The Hunger Games, the original trilogy, before I watched those films come out, but for this one I have not read this book, so I guess I never really had any inclination to find out where President Snow came from. I guess for me, I just didn't care about his character or his backstory. I was more interested in the rise of the Hunger Games and this war that this planet, I don't know if it's Earth or if it's some other planet, wherever, I was more intrigued. What is this war that happened, and then this one side came out on top and then sent out this overall rule and separated all these people into 12 different districts? I want to know how that happened. But sadly, we don't get any of that here. The Hunger Games have actually already been established, and it's been around for about 10 years. I believe this is the 10th Hunger Games. So I was a little disappointed. I wanted a little bit more history. And I think that's to the detriment of this film, because just like any other prequel movie that comes out after the original trilogy has come out, the prequel, even though chronologically it comes before the trilogy that is so well known, relies too much on us knowing the original trilogy, so they have little tiny callbacks of like, oh yes, this little flower patch, these people call it something else, I call it Katniss. What are those flying up there singing all of those songs? Well, them are just mockingjays, of course, don't you know that? There's a lot of that in here, relying on us, the audience, knowing what the Hunger Games is. And for me, if it's a prequel film, it's supposed to come before, like, the core trilogy or the core story that we very well know. I want to see some originality. I don't want to see any reliance on, well, you know, the stuff that happens after the events of the story that you're in right now. Well, we're going to rely on a couple of callbacks with that. I hate that, because when we're getting into the Hunger Games, when we're leading up to it, and these mentors are supposed to be advertising these contestants to the world of Panem so that they would send in donations and contributions, there's barely any of that. There's no hype to the Hunger Games at all. It kind of just happens. Yes, they're all selected. They all come to Panem, and they have a couple of days in a zoo cage, and then they're just thrown into the games. Where's the ingenuity? I wanted to see these mentors come up with some ideas of how to market these people to the rest of the population of Panem. And then we find out that the creators of the Hunger Games, the people who run the thing, they like what Snow is doing in advertising, or at least making the citizens of Panem care about Lucy Gray, his contestant. He thinks that the Hunger Games is not just about punishment. It's not supposed to be like a display for someone. No, if the people of Panem care about the people who are in the games, they will care and they will tune in and watch the thing because they want to see their person succeed. It's kind of like Sports 101, and it's Marketing 101. These people don't have a marketing manager in Panem at all? Come on! Huh. What an interesting idea. If the viewership care about the people who are in the games, they may tune in to watch. Interesting. I didn't think of that. Promote this man! Just shaking my head, like, really? You didn't think of that? You really didn't think of that? Okay. There are many points in this movie where I was just kind of shaking my head with the stupidity of these characters. Like, really? You didn't think about marketing the thing? Like, of course your ratings are down. You're not marketing the shit. And you have all of this technology to create these massive games and to do like a huge tub of these colorful venomous snakes. You have all of this technology to control all of that, but yet you can't come up with the idea of marketing. Come on. And surprisingly, The Hunger Games is only Act 2 of this film. We have an entire Act 3 that develops into this love story between Snow and Lucy Gray that to me felt very forced. You could tell that they were trying to build up a relationship between the two when one is the mentor and one is the tribute in The Hunger Games, but I never really got any type of like love connection between the two, or like, yes, I care about them, at least from a mutual side going back and forth between the two. But then in the aftermath, they kind of just fall in love in District 12, and it was just very strange for me. And Rachel Zegler, who I love as a performer, I think she has an amazing voice. I always think about her as Maria in the remake of West Side Story, which is a film that I absolutely loved, and I love her performance. And here, it's kind of hit or miss for me. She has an accent sometimes, and then doesn't, and then has it again. Very, very strange. Then Tom Blythe, who plays a young Donald Sutherland in this movie, is very wooden. I didn't really get much from him. That's kind of the character of Snow, though. He's very internalized with all of his emotions. He doesn't wear all of his stuff on his face and on his skin, because if he did, everyone else around him who are more powerful than him would take advantage of him. But on the flip side of that, it leaves us with a very cold character that we can't really gain a connection with because they're just so cold on screen. Viola Davis is kind of out there in this movie. You can tell she's having fun and she's loving what she's doing. And sometimes she is very menacing, and then at other points, I'm like, really, you're the one running it? Like, the whole marketing thing is kind of surrounded with her. Like, oh, marketing, that's very interesting. Jason Schwartzman has to be related to Stanley Tucci in some way, shape, or form. I watched him on screen. I thought it was a Stanley Tucci, but with the CGI dots on his face to do the de-aging stuff. I swear it was him. Schwartzman is fantastic. The characterization of this promoter, this host of a character between the two actors is seamless. Definitely the best part of the movie. Overall, I think the story is intriguing. I like going back and finding out the history of certain things, especially in the Hunger Games. I think it's like the 82nd or the 84th Hunger Games. Yeah, it's the 84th, and then it does the whole quarter quell thing or whatever in Catching Fire. So I like going back and seeing things in like the roots of where they get started. It's just the events that happen in here is not really what I was craving for in a prequel story or a prequel book to The Hunger Games. But because it's not what I expected, that doesn't make this movie out to be terrible. I don't think it's terrible. It's just kind of bland for me. After The Hunger Games happens and we get into Act 3, it becomes a trudge and it becomes a bore. I was dozing off. I was thinking about other things. I kind of just wanted the movie to end. And then it kind of just ends. There we go. But here, The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes, it was fine. Like, it's okay. If I was gonna be binging all of the Hunger Games, yes, I would put this on, and then after the Hunger Games happened, I would kind of just go off and, I don't know, cook dinner or do something else. I'm gonna give The Hunger Games, The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes, 2.5 out of 5 Blu-rays.
I found that if you have a goal, that you might not reach it. But if you don't have one, then you are never disappointed. And I gotta tell you, it feels phenomenal.
So guys, if you've seen The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes, what did you think about it? What is your ranking of all of the Hunger Games films? Whatever you thought, comment below, let me know what you thought about it. And as always, if you like what you see here, if you like my take on movies, then hit the subscribe button and make sure you hit that bell. See you the next time I release my next movie review. So guys, I will see you next time on the channel, but in the meantime, be well, be good to each other, and go watch a movie. Take care, guys.